My sister judged my dress at our father's funeral, and that's when I realized she still thought I was nothing. We were standing in the stone foyer of the chapel, the kind built to impress donors more than comfort mourners. Everything echoed. Footsteps, whispers, judgments. Lydia leaned close enough that I could smell her perfume, expensive and aggressive, the kind meant to announce status before a word was spoken. "You wore that," she said quietly, eyes scanning me from collar to hem. "I mean, I get that things didn't work out for you, but this is a funeral. Dad would have wanted effort." I looked down at my black dress. Simple lines, no jewelry. No labels visible, exactly as intended. "I'm fine," I said. She gave a small smile, the one she used when she wanted people to think she was being kind. "If you need help someday, just ask. You don't have to pretend you're okay." Behind her, Mason was already shaking hands, telling people how busy things had been at the firm, how proud Dad would have been. My mother stood between them, nodding, silent, exhausted in a way that went deeper than grief. No one asked how I was doing. They never had. During the service, I sat in the second row while Lydia and Mason took the front beside our mother. The pastor spoke about my father's ambition, his discipline, his belief in success. People nodded. Some glanced at me, the daughter who had not followed him into anything respectable. I kept my eyes forward. Dad had never hidden his disappointment. He called my work a phase, a hobby, something I would outgrow when reality arrived. Even near the end, when he was sick, he asked Mason about markets and Lydia about campaigns. He never asked me what I was building. At the reception, it got worse. Aunt Carol squeezed my arm. "You're being so brave," she said. "Living simply, not everyone can accept less." Another guest suggested I apply at a department store. Someone else asked if I was still doing the boutique thing, as if it were a lemonade stand. Lydia joined the circle, perfectly dressed, perfectly positioned. "Claire's always marched to her own beat," she said lightly. "Some people just don't care about ambition." They laughed politely. I smiled. I had learned to do that years ago. What they did not know was that the dress Lydia criticized was one of the first pieces I designed alone. What they did not know was that the quiet I lived in was intentional. What they did not know was that my father's voice, the one that dismissed me, had taught me something invaluable. Build without noise. Grow without permission. Let them underestimate you. It keeps things clean. My phone vibrated once in my hand. A single message. 2 words, all set. I slipped it back into my bag without checking anything else. As the reception thinned, Lydia found me again near the exit. "You'll be okay," she said, softer now. "We'll figure things out as a family." I met her eyes. "I know." She mistook certainty for denial. Outside, the air was cold and sharp. I stood for a moment, listening to the low hum of conversations behind me. My family speaking about legacy, about money, about what came next. They were about to find out. But not yet. Not today. Today, I let them believe I was exactly who they thought I was. The day after my father's funeral, I unlocked my shop before sunrise. From the outside, it looked exactly the way my family described it. Narrow frontage, faded sign. One large window with mannequins, dressed too simply to impress anyone chasing trends. It sat between a nail salon and a closed travel agency, unnoticed by people who only looked up when something glittered. Inside, it was quiet, honest, familiar. This was the place my father called a dead end. I turned on the lights and walked slowly through the space, touching the racks, the counter, the mirror near the fitting rooms where women stood straighter after seeing themselves differently. I had learned more about people in this room than my siblings ever learned in boardrooms or studios. My phone rang. Mason. "Hey," he said, brisk, already distracted. "Quick question. Did Dad ever mention anything about accounts? Investments, something outside the will?" "No," I said. He paused. "You're sure?" "Yes," he sighed. "Okay, just checking." He hung up without asking how I was. An hour later, Lydia texted, "Can you believe the flowers Dad ordered never arrived? Typical. Also, my agent says campaigns are slowing. Market's weird right now." I didn't reply. By noon, the first crack appeared. A black SUV parked across the street. 2 people stepped out, not customers, not locals. They stood looking at the building, checking an address. I watched from behind the glass. My phone buzzed again. Naomi, they've started. I locked the door, flipped the sign to closed, and walked to the back room. Behind a plain shelving unit was a door no one ever noticed. I pressed my thumb to the scanner hidden beneath chipped paint. It opened silently. Downstairs, everything changed. The lights came on automatically. Screens woke up. Data scrolled. Schedules. Reports. Numbers moving in patterns that told a story my family never bothered to read. Naomi was already there, tablet in hand. Calm, precise. Mason's bank accounts are frozen, she said. Federal inquiry escalated overnight. He doesn't know yet. And Lydia? Contract suspended pending review, morals clause, public behavior, attitude complaints. It'll be official by tomorrow. I nodded. And my mother, Naomi hesitated. She's been calling lawyers. That one stung more than I expected. I sat down, folded my hands, and stared at the main screen. This was the part people imagined as revenge, the moment of control, the reveal, but it didn't feel like triumph. It felt like gravity. For years, my family built their lives on appearances, borrowed confidence, leverage without substance. They assumed I was small because I stayed quiet. They assumed I had less because I asked for nothing. They never noticed that I never asked again. That afternoon, Mason showed up at the shop. He stood outside for a long time before coming in, looking smaller without the suit, without the certainty. His voice dropped when he spoke. "They're asking questions," he said. "Serious ones." I met his eyes. "About what?" He swallowed. "Everything." "I'm sorry," I said and meant it. He searched my face, looking for something, pity, help, an opening. "You're good with money," he said finally. "You always were." I waited. "If you hear anything," he added, "anything at all." He left without waiting for an answer. That night, Lydia called, crying, not quietly. "They dropped me," she said. Just like that, no warning, no explanation. I listened. "You don't understand," she went on. "This is who I am." "No," I said gently. "It's what you were given." Silence followed. I ended the call and turned off my phone. They still didn't know. They still thought I was on the outside of all this. And for one more night, I let them. They gathered at my mother's house 2 nights later. Mason arrived first, pacing the driveway, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and sharp. Lydia followed, sunglasses on despite the hour, shoulders hunched like she was bracing for impact. My mother waited inside, sitting very straight on the couch, hands folded as if posture alone could keep everything from collapsing. They called me last. "Claire," my mother said when I answered. "We need to talk. All of us." "I know," I replied. "I'll be there." When I walked in, the room fell quiet. Mason stopped pacing. Lydia lowered her glasses. My mother stood, studying me the way she hadn't in years, as if trying to reconcile the daughter she thought she knew with something unfamiliar. Mason spoke first. "We're in trouble." "I know," I said. That did it. Lydia's voice rose. "How do you know everything before we do?" My mother looked between us. "Claire, what's going on?" I set my bag down carefully. Slowly. I wanted them to feel the moment stretch. "Dad spent his life believing power came from being loud," I said. "From being seen, I learned the opposite." Mason frowned. "What are you talking about?" I met his eyes. "The bank inquiry. Lydia's contract, the investors who stopped returning calls. None of that is random." The silence thickened. Lydia's mouth opened, then closed. "You didn't," she whispered. "You couldn't." "I didn't cause it," I said. "I just didn't stop it." My mother sat back down, breath shallow. "Claire, for years," I continued, "you all assumed I was behind, that I was surviving instead of building. You never asked why I never panicked, why I never borrowed, why I never needed help." Mason shook his head slowly. "What are you saying?" I took a breath. "The shop isn't my business, it's the front door." Lydia laughed once, sharp and broken. "This isn't funny." "I'm not joking." I told them everything. Not with pride, not with anger, just facts, structures, timelines, ownership, influence. Mason sank into a chair. My mother covered her mouth. Lydia stared at me like I was a stranger. "You let us believe you were nothing," Lydia said finally. "No," I replied. "You decided that." Mason looked up, eyes wet. "You could fix this." "Yes," hope flickered too fast. "But I won't," I added. "Not the way you want." My mother stood. She wouldn't want this, she said softly. Your father. This isn't about punishment, I said. It's about boundaries. I turned to Mason. You'll cooperate fully. No shortcuts, to Lydia. You'll start over without favors, to my mother. You'll stop protecting what refuses to change. They didn't argue. They couldn't. I walked to the door, then paused. At the funeral, I said quietly, you judged my dress. You thought it showed how little I mattered. I looked back once. It showed how much I didn't need to prove. Outside, the night was still. For the first time, they saw me clearly. And for the first time, I didn't wait for their approval.